Morning Meno Warriors, it's Kate and welcome back to my channel where I share a weekly video with you about menopause. Today I'm actually going to be talking about, will your menopause symptoms get worse before they start to get better? And it's one of those things where it's a not, we're all different. There is no one size fits all. And while your sister or mum may have gone through the menopause without any problems at all, your experience of it could be entirely different, and obviously vice versa as well. Firstly, if you are liking my Menopause Monday series, please make sure to give me a thumbs up, hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future episodes, and subscribe to the channel. Then you'll always stay on top of the latest information that I'm sharing with you. My mission really is to help you understand all about the menopause. I have nothing against HRT. I'm following a natural approach myself. And I found that I use myself as a guinea pig. And I found that by doing the techniques that I share with you and also with the ladies in my wellness community, they are significantly reducing our menopausal symptoms. That is not to say that you would never need HRT or that you might want to take HRT. I also have ladies in my wellness community, they take HRT, but also with lifestyle changes, you can then support that even further. It's down to us. I mean, there is so much research out there. It just drives me potty, actually, that doctors have so little training in the menopause, and only recently it was established that they're not going to get any more training in the menopause, and they don't get much anyway. So you do have to become your own advocate. And I can appreciate how hard it can be to come across information that is going to help you and that you can trust as well. So today I'm going to sort of explain why your symptoms might get worse, and also for you to have hope that they do eventually, in the vast majority of cases, they get better. I think you'll find the perimenopause is when you're going to have the worst combination of symptoms. That is when your hormones are sort of shooting all over the shop. It's very much a roller coaster ride of what's going on as you go through into postmenopause. And remember, menopause is just one day. It's 12 months after your last period. So you've had a complete 12 months period of no periods. And then beyond that, you're postmenopausal. So once that's happened, your hormones do tend to, I mean, obviously they're declining, but they tend to sort of level out a bit. Whereas perimenopause, it's all over the shop. And I think also what makes it worse is it's new to us. We're suddenly getting these various symptoms. We might just have a few, we might have all of them. You might wake up one day and you're in full menopause. If you had a surgical menopause, you know, you've had a hysterectomy, something like that, there is no warming up for you at all. You are in it, and that must be really awful. In fact, I'd be interested if you've had like menopause brought on by surgery. Please drop your comments below so I can get a really good idea of, you know, what your experience of it was, and also if you could share, if anything's helped you, what you found the most effective to help you. To help you with all menopause symptoms, stress management is absolutely key. Because when we go into the menopause or perimenopause, the adrenal glands back up the jobs of the ovaries. So our ovaries have gone into retirement, we're no longer producing eggs, and the adrenal glands actually help to produce some estrogen. And for most of us, we're living quite stressful lives already, and so the adrenal glands are already quite tired. So anything that contributes to stress in your life is going to make your symptoms worse. And that can be stress from any situation. It could be a lack of sleep. I'm going to go into these various things in more detail in a moment, but just to sort of summarize, it can be lack of sleep, it can be poor food choices, it can be poor drink choices, it can be not drinking enough water, it can be in a relationship that's not fulfilling you, it could be work that you hate, it could be the fact that you're just too tired and you can't, you know, you're not getting the right quality of sleep to wake up and feel like you can manage the day effectively. And then on top of that, we then start to see ourselves as changing in our identity. Our confidence gets knocked. We think, you know, we see the person that we once were and what we could achieve once. And now we look at ourselves and we almost see ourselves as broken. And I really want to encourage you not to think of it like that, because that serves nobody, and least of all you. When you can see yourself as going through a journey, which all of us women, when we're lucky enough to get old enough to have the menopause, I know some people have menopause much younger, but for the vast majority of us, it's middle age. We've got this far. that is something to be incredibly grateful for. And I just want to sort of, there's so much negative stuff written about menopause. And while I'm not sort of trying to sweep all the symptoms under the rug, I think it's also really important that we do give gratitude for the fact we've got this far and that we have so much information at our fingertips now. You know, you might be able to get HRT if you want it, or the type of HRT that you want. You might decide to do it the natural way. Well, we have so many resources. We've got so much information now. You know, Google, imagine what it was like in our grandmother's day, our mother's day, when they didn't have access to the internet and the information that we have. So rather than seeing it as something awful that you've got to suffer through, try and see it as something that you're experiencing. And yes, it might not be a bed of roses. However, when you approach it with a more positive mindset, it's amazing how that can have a knock-on effect, a positive knock-on effect to your symptoms. So firstly, you are completely different to everybody else. We're all entirely different. Your journey through the menopause will not be the same as somebody else's. So avoid comparing yourself to others. Avoid sort of sticking to what might have worked with somebody else, because it might not work for you. By all means, give it a try. But if it's not working, try something else. I'm gonna share some information. In fact, at the bottom of this, I will share a link to a tracker that I share with my wellness community. It will help you monitor just the things on a daily basis that are going to contribute to a healthy lifestyle for you. And just know that it is absolutely multifaceted. So firstly, when we're go through the menopause, like I mentioned, our adrenal glands are tired. We are often in fairly stressful situations in our life. What job are you going to do if you've got a job still? I know it's so hard. I speak to so many of my friends. They are highly qualified, but because they are sort of 50 or around 50, they just cannot get a job. And they've got an amazing work ethic. They want to work hard and they just cannot, people will not give them a job. And it's so, but it's very scary too, particularly if you're a single woman, you're out there, or you know, you rely on two incomes for your family. It's really hard to know what to do and how to overcome that when you're trying your hardest. You know, you have the skill sets, you know, you have the qualifications, you've got this vast amount of experience, and yet still employers will not employ you because for some reason they see you as an older woman. And I think there needs to be radical change in the workplace to accommodate menopause in any case. I will cover that in another episode. That's massive in itself. But just know that you might be caring for older parents. You might be a new empty nester and dealing with the fact that your kids aren't at home anymore, particularly when you might have been a stay-at-home mum and all of a sudden your whole reason for being is no longer needing you. Well, not to such a degree. That can be really hard to manage. So just be kind to yourself. There's a lot of stress going on in our lives, apart from fact also that our hormones are all over the shop. So the body has this natural ability and tendency to obviously regulate itself, to find balance, but it's working flipping hard when your hormones are all over the shop. Where is that balance? So just know that stress is going to be a major contributor to your symptoms. So if you can do regular exercise, strength training exercise, ideally, you don't want to be doing heavy duty cardio. Once you go through the menopause, you need to do a different exercise routine. Incorporate plenty of rejuvenating rest days, the right kind of cardio. You can do HIIT training, but make sure it doesn't last for too long and that it's not too heavy duty impact either, because you know, a lot of women, we go through the menopause and we have joint pain. I used to get out of bed and look like the Tin Man when I was walking across the bedroom. It was just, I could almost hear the squeak coming from my joints. And I found actually reducing caffeine, in fact cutting out caffeine, and adding vitamin E supplement, that helped massively to my joint pain. So if you've got really sore joints, give that a try, but also just be mindful of the activity you're doing on your joints, and also be mindful you need to be active. When we're moving with intention, and I don't mean just like vacuuming the house or gardening or going for a quick walk with the dog, that will help, but this is why full body strength training is so important, because when we move, most of our joints are synovial joints, which means we have synovial fluid in our joint. It also means that we have the cartilage in there. The synovial fluid actually helps to nourish that cartilage, as well as providing oil around that joint capsule. So when you're not moving, that joint capsule gets dried up. Well, it doesn't completely get dried up, but that's when you can form crystals, you can form inflammation. You need to be making sure you've got regular movement. Even our knuckles are joint capsules. So you need to make sure you've got regular movement taking place so that you're feeding the inside of that joint capsule, and that will also help to support sore joints. On top of that, when we have a strong musculature, so when we've got good posture, we've got good strong muscles all over our body, that is in and of itself also going to support joints. Make sure if you've got joint pain that you are not overweight, because that's one of the simplest things you can do to reduce the pressure on your joints, as well as the host of problems that being overweight causes. Also know that fat creates its own estrogen. So of course, when we go through the menopause, our estrogen levels are falling, but they fall slower than our other sex hormones. Sorry, estrogen falls slower than our other sex hormones. So you end up with estrogen dominance. And you don't want fat making more estrogen, because you're just making that dominance even worse. So you're technically making your symptoms even worse. So just be really, really mindful of that. So focus on things that are going to help you manage stress. Deep breathing is one of the easiest and the most effective ways to help you manage stress. Yoga, meditation, walking out in nature, go barefoot on the ground. It has such a beautiful grounding effect to you. Just find something that works for you. I'm useless at meditation. So my exercise is my relaxation, as weird as that sounds, and also getting out into nature. On top of that, with nature, when you get outside, you're getting a good dose of vitamin D. Vitamin D is crucial for our mental health, our physical health, our emotional health. On every level, we need vitamin D. If you are struggling to get outside on a daily basis, consider a vitamin D3 supplement. It'll help you a lot. I know there are certain, like mushrooms contain quite lots of vitamin D, but just being realistic about it, if you are not getting outside for probably a minimum of 30 minutes a day in bright light, you might well be deficient in vitamin D. It does have a habit, it does store up. So in the summer months, you will create like a little bank account of vitamin D, but whether that's enough to take you through the darker months, I'm not entirely sure. So vitamin D will help you. It'll also help you sleep more effectively as well. Sleep is absolutely crucial to us, but is also most women struggle with their sleep when they go through the menopause, whether it's hot flushes waking you up, whether it's night sweats, whether it's that horrible crushing anxiety that just comes and jumps on your chest at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. That has such a negative impact on our sleep. Plus also our declining estrogen levels also mean that we don't stay asleep as well as we used to do. So find techniques that are going to help you. Deep breathing is also going to help you a lot. I recently started face yoga. Apparently if you put like pressure here on the inside of your eyelid, sort of whatever, that depression there, I have no idea what it's called, it's an acupressure point. If you hold that for sort of 10 seconds, just gently, while you do deep breathing, and then hold for further 10 seconds, bit more deep breathing, further 10 seconds, bit more deep breathing. That is an acupressure point that will actually help you go to sleep. Another thing that I found, which I know quite a few of you are doing as well, is download an audio book that's quite an interesting story, maybe have a little bit of intrigue. And when you've got it on Audible, you can actually set that book to go off after sort of, well, you can choose your time period, basically. I normally leave it on for half an hour, and I know that I've gone to sleep. It turns itself off after half an hour, but I can never remember it turning off. We have this habit of thinking we've slept so badly because particularly as we're drifting in and out of sleep, you only remember the bits when you're awake. You don't remember the bits when you're asleep. By listening to the book, it'll help you drift off because it stops that squirrel brain effect, but it'll help you understand and realize that you're probably sleeping more than you think you are. When we start to identify with the fact that we're a bad sleeper, it just makes it even harder to go to sleep. So when you can start to think, oh, actually, I probably did sleep a bit more than I thought, it kind of helps you manage that lack of sleep, or the thought that it's a big lack of sleep a little bit more positively. I hope that makes sense. And likewise, if you wake up in the early hours and you've got that horrible, whether it's a hot flush, night sweats, whether it's that anxiety that's coming upon you, again, put the book on for 15 minutes. Yeah, if you've got somebody next to you, put earplugs in, but do not have your phone plugged into the electrical socket if you've got earplugs. You might have those Bluetooth things, but if you're using you know, the old-fashioned cable, do not plug it into the electrical source. There have been stories of people actually electrocuting themselves. There's been a power surge for whatever reason, and because they've got their earplugs in, it's basically electrocuted them and killed them. So just be wary of that. Also, when we sleep poorly, it really affects our satiety hormone. So whether we feel less full, we feel more snacky, and we don't notice when we're full in time. So it will make you eat more than you need to eat more frequently than you need to eat, and probably reach for the wrong types of food. Our brain just wants fast energy, and it knows that all the crappy food has fast energy. Although it won't do you any good, it's going to be fast energy. So just be aware of the fact that when you're sleeping poorly, if you can prepare your food in advance, make some healthy snacks, blend up some dates, add some oats in there, maybe some goji berries or cranberries or blueberries. You can put almond butter in, peanut butter in, because basically the dates make it nice and gloopy. Raw cacao nibs. Raw cacao nibs are so good for us. They're absolutely bursting in antioxidants. They make it nice and crunchy too. So, you know, if you've got like the gooiness of the dates, which is basically like a naturally healthy caramel, you've got the juiciness of the fruits, you've got the crunchiness of the cacao nibs or nuts or seeds, whatever you might want to put in it. And you can freeze them, stick them in a little pack. I just roll mine into balls. I blend it all up, roll them into balls, stick them in the freezer, and then whenever I want a healthy snack, I just go and grab one. And dates are brilliant for us through the menopause because they contain something called boron, which is very important for us as we go through the menopause. So just make sure that you've got healthy snacks on hand. They cost next to nothing to make. They take hardly any time to make, and they're going to help you avoid reaching for the biscuits and the cake, which is just going to then further exacerbate the symptoms that you're already having. And if you can get into meal prep, or just cook large batches of healthy food and then just portion it out so that you're not always cooking. You know, if you have very little time in the evening, maybe take a day of, you know, an hour or two at the weekend and prepare for the week ahead. It will make a massive difference to you. So just bearing in mind that, you know, your poor sleep is likely to have a knock-on effect to the foods you choose, and also obviously then weight gain. Remember, fat creates estrogen. It's poor for your joints. It also negatively impacts your sleep. Food in and of itself, food and drink makes a massive difference. I know that when my symptoms are worse, it's because I'm eating and drinking the wrong stuff. Caffeine can trigger hot flushes. It can also keep you awake. Sugar can trigger hot flushes. It can also keep you awake and make you fat. It also makes your skin bad. It increases your stress hormones. Knock-on effect. Okay. Not drinking enough water is incredibly important. So you imagine, particularly if you're going through having lots of hot flushes, you've got night sweats, you need to be drinking more water. It's going to keep your skin clear. It'll help you with your digestive system. When we're dehydrated, it increases our risk of palpitations, headaches, migraines, blurred vision, brain fog, more common symptoms of the menopause. So just make sure you're drinking plenty of water. To know ideally how much you should be drinking, take your weight in pounds, measure that by, or divide that by 2, and the answer is the amount of fluid ounces ideally you should be drinking a day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, you should be drinking 100 fluid ounces of water. And water. Tea and coffee they're dehydrating. They're acidic, and they also have the effect of being dehydrating. Green tea, I get asked loads about green tea. Green tea is good for you, but remember it also contains caffeine. I can't drink green tea. It gives me the jitters. I can drink coffee, but I cannot drink green tea. As soon as I have it, I go, it has a really weird effect on me. So just know that green tea, yes, to a degree, but I wouldn't drink it in the afternoon either. So know that, again, everything is interrelated. Fatigue is a massive symptom of menopause. And if your sleep is poor, and if you're putting on weight and your sleep gets even worse, or your sleep is poor and you're having anxiety and you're not managing to do your deep breathing will help you. You cannot be relaxed and stressed at the same time. And deep breathing brings on that relaxation response. I promise you, it's one of the most powerful things you can learn to do. People poo-poo it. It is absolutely vital for you. And just become a good tracker of what you're eating, how you're feeling, say for instance, you know, you sleep badly tonight. So what do you do tomorrow? You think, right, you know, slept badly. Rate yourself out of 10. So number 6, 0 to 10. number 6, the sleep. So what did you do yesterday? Did you have any activity? How much water did you drink? What did you eat? What were your main meals? Were you snacking? Were you eating sweet stuff? Were you eating chocolates? Dark chocolate is good for us, but not too much before bed because it will stimulate you, it will keep you awake. Try not to do exercise or tough exercise before bed. You want a good sort of 2-hour window, because again, that can help you. You can be dog tired. I used to run a Krav Maga group, would get home exhausted on a Wednesday and a Friday evening. Could I go to sleep? Because I wouldn't be doing Krav Maga so much these days because it was, my adrenaline was literally off the charts. But that is why I could not go to sleep, no matter how tired I was. It was just impossible. So know that if you're doing exercise in the evening, make sure it's not too close to bedtime, because that will have a negative impact on you. But when you can track, you can then start to see these patterns that form. And then that really puts you in the driving seat. Again, it gives you that sense of control and a sense of ownership over your menopausal symptoms. I'll drop the link in these comments for a tracker that I mentioned earlier. I'll also drop a link to a healthy sleeping habits ebook that I wrote a little while back. That will give you the main things to be mindful of to make sure you get your chances of a good night's sleep. Screens are one of the worst things. If you're watching screens, particularly on your computer or your phone before bed, is that blue light that has such a negative impact on your sleep. So if I could say to you 2 things: do deep breathing and get rid of screens a good 2 hours before bed. It'll make a big difference to you. So I hope that was helpful. Just a very quick one on, I wanted to just go back to the water and the food again and our digestion. Estrogen, falling estrogen actually makes our motility slow down through the digestive tract. So as the food that we're eating just takes longer to get through, which can cause more bloating, can cause constipation. We can become quite sensitive to different food groups as well, which sort of brings me back to tracking. You might have been fine all your life, and then all of a sudden you go through the menopause and suddenly it might be dairy, it might be gluten, it might be something completely different, but you're becoming sensitive to that. So when you're tracking your food and drink, it'll help you identify those things that are having a negative impact on your being, and then you can cut them out. I would, if you suspect something, cut it out for 2 weeks and then see, did your symptoms go? And then maybe try reintroducing it again, and do your symptoms come back? And if they do, well, then you have a sensitivity to that food group, and it's up to you then to decide, do you want to keep eating it and have the symptoms, or are you going to keep off it and live without those symptoms? Because there is so much that we can do. I really want you to understand how important it is that you have so much control over your menopausal symptoms. Maybe not complete, but in a large part, you can do a lot of positivity for your menopause. Another thing also I would suggest, I mentioned vitamin D3. The vitamin B complex is really good, particularly if you're struggling with your anxiety or palpitations, because it just supports our nervous system and it helps us become more resilient to stressors as well. And then vitamin E is a brilliant one, particularly if you've got joint pain. I would recommend having vitamin E. I think a lot of people will say, yeah, have a vitamin E supplement through the menopause. If you're having vitamin E, make sure you'll have a look on like Amazon or something. You want the 4 tocopherols and the 4 tocotrienols. A lot of vitamin E's will have just the tocopherols and not the tocotrienols. So make sure it's got the 4 of both. That probably sounds complete gobbledygook, but it'll make complete sense when you go on to Amazon and have a little look. You'll see the 4 and the 4, and that's the one you want to get. And then finally, I always talk about them, adaptogen herbs, because they help you manage your stress more effectively. I swear by them. I have 8 in a daily sort of sachet thing that I take every day, which also contains digestive enzymes, pre and probiotics, because of course our gut health is so important for our mental health. And I think it's really made a big impact to how I manage the menopause. Yeah, I still get hot flushes, but I know why, because I've eaten and drunk the wrong stuff. Sometimes I still get a bit of anxiety, but again, that's probably down to what I'm eating and drinking. On the whole, I can honestly, hand on heart, say I've quite enjoyed my menopause experience. I feel like I've learned a lot. I've made some amazing friendships as a result of having the menopause, and I really hope that you're not feeling isolated yourself too. There's so many of us going through it. So if you are feeling really isolated, just connect with me. Send me a message. I'm on Instagram at Kate Hartley UK, and I'm on Facebook. Kate.Hartley54 is my private is my timeline, you know, my personal one, and then Kate Hartley UK is my business page on Facebook. It's not really a business, but it helps me run groups and things like that. So yeah, I'd be really interested what has helped you, and if you want the tracker and the healthy sleeping habits information or resources, just click the links below. And yeah, I hope this has been helpful. So please remember to give it a like. Click the bell icon so you don't miss future episodes. Make sure you subscribe, and maybe come and find me on social media. I share I all sorts of stuff over there, mainly on Instagram, so at Kate Hartley UK, and all about sort of various exercises that you can do for menopause, pelvic floor strengthening, how to lose belly fat, how to lift your booty, how to get lean and strong all over, just how to putting fun back into life. We've got to remember to have fun. So thank you for your company. I really appreciate it. If you've got anything you'd like me to cover in a future episode, drop me a comment and I'll be happy to put it to my list.